Would you open a Bible to Matthew 26, please? Matthew 26 talks about Christ's betrayal and arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane, the events that we just sang about. And I want to read the passage that I believe that hymn is referencing when it talks about him being able to call 10,000 angels. And just ask us to really dwell on that passage in particular today as we eat and drink communion with our Lord. This is Matthew 26. I'm going to start reading in verse 47. While he was still speaking, Judas came, one of the 12. And with him a great crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "The one I will kiss is the man. Seize him." And he came up to Jesus at once and said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and he kissed him. And Jesus said to him, "Friend, do what you came to do." Then they came up and laid hands on Jesus and seized him. And behold, one of those who were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. Then Jesus said to him, "Put your sword back into its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then should the scriptures be fulfilled that it must be so?" At that hour Jesus said to the crowds, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs to capture me? Day after day I sat in the temple teaching, and you did not seize me. But all this has taken place that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all of his disciples left him and fled. What strikes me the most about this one little interaction that must have been less than 5 minutes in total, what strikes me the most is how many contradictions are present in this little interaction right here. How many things that happen here should never have been allowed to happen. How many ways somebody has inverted the whole thing and has done a true evil through an act that seems so nice on the surface, or has done something that is so kind and yet seems to be wrong on the surface. And everybody in this little demonstration here is a paradox, including Christ himself. Think about it and just work your way through it again. While Jesus is still speaking with the apostles, Judas comes, and he is labeled by Matthew as one of the 12. But of course, we know what his intent is here. It is to be completely separated from the 12, because the 12 were with Jesus and Judas is against Jesus. Now, the next thing, the betrayer had given them his sign, "The one I will kiss is the man." A demonstration of love and friendship and affection and connection between these two men is the one thing that he will use to show that he is an enemy of Jesus to the core of who he is. And then the fact that Jesus responds to him the way he does and to Peter the way that he does. Both of those are paradoxical when you think about it. Because what does Jesus call Judas? Friend. Friend. And what does he tell him to do? To go through with his wicked plan. Friend, do what you came to do. But when Peter steps up, and it seems on the surface like he's doing something to be supportive of Jesus and defensive of Jesus, Jesus criticizes him and says, "Put the sword back in the sheath. That is not why we're here. Friend, do what you came to do. Put the sword away. That's not why we're here." Said to the two men we would not think that he would say that to. And then the statement in verse 53, "Do you not think that I can appeal to my Father, and he will send me more than 12 legions of angels?" 10,000 of 10,000. The number is not what's relevant here. The power is what's relevant here. I can appeal to the Father, and he has the power to immediately put a stop to everything that's about to happen here, and all of this wickedness would be completely forgotten, the earth itself wiped off the face of the universe. But he says, "This is why I'm here. I could undo all of this, and instead I will be the one who is the only one here who's committed to doing all of this. And then the last one, when Jesus calls out the crowds for their contradiction. You come out to me as like I'm a robber. You come out to me like I'm going to put up a big fight. Me and my people, we're going to just really try to wear you guys out, and you think you need to be armed to the hilt to be ready to take me down. And he says, no, you had all of the opportunities and you didn't do anything about it before when it was broad daylight. What you're doing right now by showing up like this is showing that you know this is wrong and you've chosen to do it anyway. All of this is a contradiction to itself through and through and through and through and through. The whole thing is a jumbled mess of what happens when evil enters God's good world and when it is seen through to its full completion. And yet in the middle of all of that is Jesus the Christ, the one that Peter said, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And he is the one standing there in perfect righteousness, putting all these contradictory things back into perfect orderliness as they should have been all along. That's his role there. And so they bound the hands of Jesus and they led him away to be crucified, and he cried out, "It is finished." Almost as if to say, this is all the evil that could be committed, but here's God doing all the good that was needed to make up for it. And I hope that that's what strikes us today as we eat and drink with him, that we kind of dwell in this moment here in the garden, where all of this contradictory stuff is happening, where all of these people have the wrong ideas about themselves and him and God, and it all just comes smashing and swirling together in this awful cauldron of evil that's just boiling and bubbling right in front of us, you know? And yet here, Jesus steps in as the Prince of Peace to iron it all out, to forgive us of all of the evil that has caused things like this in this world, and to make it possible that we could be brought home to our God. I hope that you love taking communion today and thinking of all the good that Jesus did directly in the face of all of the evil and discord that we brought to him. May God bless us, and thank God for Jesus Christ.